Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists. This time, it's a bonus episode featuring Bola.ai, and I'm really excited to introduce our guests today. We have Tina and Rushi on. Tina is a dental hygienist, and so, of course, she understands all of our pain points that we are seeing. And then Rushi is the CEO and really a visionary in helping all of this come together. The point of the episode was, I think, probably a lot of you were sick and tired of me talking about AI all the time, right? I just get a big smile on my face even thinking about how often it was in our newsletters, part of our intros. We did full episodes on it. I mean, even as far back as I think probably 2 years ago when we talked about machine learning with Andrew Carr. It's just been something that's absolutely fascinated me. And I was hoping that there was going to be an application, like a real application in dentistry, but I can never really think about how that could be because the mechanical portion of our job is something that we can't farm out. And when we talked with Rushi and Tina, I learned there are still several ways that we can incorporate AI into our daily practice that is going to give us a little bit of reprieve, a little bit of a break. We're going to be able to have that snack. We're going to get a full lunch because we're not wasting time typing into the computer for our chart notes. There are so many really cool applications that they're onto. And beyond that, they have a lot of future applications that they're working on that we didn't really get a chance to talk about on air, but off air, I was just blown away. They're really about making our lives easier. I think that that's something that you can easily incorporate into it. And I hope you enjoy this episode with Tina and Rushi.
A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome, everyone, into the interview portion of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited today. We have Rushi and Tina on today. We have a different kind of conversation, and it's one that I think is timely. I think it's necessary, and I couldn't be more excited about our guests. Rushi, Tina, thank you for joining us on the show.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Andrew.
Well, let's get into a little bit about who you are. I feel like, it feels like you're a new player on the scene, but I'm sure there's a lot of background that goes into this. Rushi, do you want to start us off?
Sure thing. That's very true, Andrew. So yeah, my name's Rushi Ganmukhi, founder and CEO of Bola.ai. My background is in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and specifically natural language processing. Basically how to make computers understand language.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, and that's what I love to do. And out of that background, I founded Bola.ai. Nicely in the dental and healthcare space, we just saw the need and the desire for a voice assistant to help during charting.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, though, because I have a feeling, do you have relatives or friends that are in the dental space? Like, how did that connect when you're like, I'm going to school, I'm going to be doing all this, boom, dentistry? That's the answer.
So it's a funny thing. I always joke with my friends that I know way too much about dentistry. And I have our advisors rank which year dental student we would be. So I think I'm still first year in terms of my knowledge. But yeah, what really happened was when I looked to start this company, we definitely saw in the broader healthcare market a need for a product like this.
Sure.
And there had been other solutions over the course of 20, 30 years that spoke to the problem, but I think a lot of them were incomplete and a lot of them aren't up to date with the newest technology. And so that really painted the picture of a nice area market to enter. Within healthcare, in one of the spaces I was working at, there was a lot of dentists. And so I would just run kind of my ideas just as we were chatting, grabbing water, grabbing coffee. I would chat about a little bit what we wanted to be doing. And they said, okay, well, medical's great, but have you checked out dental? And they actually set me up with one of their dental offices here in Boston. And I sat in on 2 or 3 days worth of procedures. They actually let me DM once too. That's harder than it looks.
Yeah.
But quickly after those 2 or 3 days, I came back and my brain was full of ideas and I was just running and just saw the need, saw exactly what we needed to build. And I think the rest is history.
That's incredible. I mean, I would say that you lucked into like one of the most amazing professions that ever existed. My
I agree.
and the timing of this is very interesting as well because you have all of these Chat GPT, all these AI has been slowly progressing up to this like precipice until this last like year it has completely exploded. And so like you're
Mhm.
like striking that iron like right when it's hot. This is perfect timing.
Yeah, and it's great to be in a position where we've done this. We've done this for a few years now, have a great group of customers, and now we can introduce a new technology with ChatGPT coming out. I think everyone is reinvigorated around language AI
Yeah.
and voice AI, which used to always take the back seat to image AI. Personally, I'm happy about that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, you're right. I mean, so many more people are gonna be able to relate to it. I think, hygienists are starting to kind of understand it a little bit more. We're obviously not experts. We're probably also first year, whatever of your equivalent for dental school would be. But
Right.
we're there. We're excited about it. We're loving it. Let's shift over to Tina. Tina, if you don't mind just giving us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I'm Tina Long. I've been a hygienist for almost 20 years now. I stopped working clinically a few years ago to join the Bola team to help them along their journey. It has been super exciting. I love this product. I wish I had it in my clinical experience because it relieves one of those pain points, You're trying to do it by yourself, get yourself an assistant, and it just makes things so much easier. So really, when I speak with customers every day and they're telling me like, "Oh, this makes things so much easier," it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's what they were trying to do, and that's what they're realizing right now. So super
Can
exciting for me
we
still.
I would love to add. I mean, I know like we're going to talk about the Bola is bigger picture here in just a second, but Tina, for you, like it's very interesting to me because I feel like on the the social medias and things like that, we always see about these hygienists who have worked a good career clinically and they're looking to quote unquote get out of the op, right? Which we don't love. We want hygienists to stay in the op as much as possible, but sometimes it's just not possible. So how did you learn about this opportunity? And AI it's different. Like this is a most hygienists go into sales. They go into something that's, this is just a different beast. How did you get acquainted with them?
Yeah, it was kind of I went to another job out of the op to learn technical support skills and things like that. And that was good. But, that was kind of all that there was there. And this was something that was kind of like new and growing and developing. And I thought, this is really kind of my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I've dealt with a lot of products over the years. And I know, Andrew, you probably have too, that, the salesman comes in and says, this is going to be great. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to try this. And then you try it in your op and you're like, this is terrible. This doesn't work. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think having like a clinical person or a clinical voice in the room has been a tremendous advantage for them to know like this is where their pain point is. Let's fix
Mm,
this. And this
Mhm.
is what's really going to help them. Let's fix this instead of, all these extra little fluff features or bells and whistles. They really need this the sturdy, reliable product that's going to work for them every time. And that's what the hygienists want. So that's kind of my voice here.
I love
But
it.
yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing
Well,
to see like the ideas that they come up with and like how can we make that work and how can we integrate that? How do we make it easier? It's been phenomenal, to be
I
honest.
bet. I just get like I get all like goosebumpy, like thinking about the innovations that you guys are all creating and stuff like that. It's so much fun to be a part of that kind of creative mindset.
Yeah.
So let's get into Bola AI. Like, so who wants to take this one? Who wants to break it down for us of exactly what this is?
Sure, I can take a stab at that one. And actually, Andrew, on the last point, I'd love to say Tina's biggest contribution, we always joke, is she's a translator. She translates the clinical into the technical
Sure,
and back our technical into the clinical.
sure.
And that's invaluable for us because I don't speak. So, Andrew, to your question about kind of the details of the product, what we do, where we're going. So, our primary product is a voice perio charting solution. So, simple microphone plug-in into your computer allows you to dictate pocket depths, bleeding, gingival margin, furcation, mobility, all the good stuff as you're charting the patient. And it goes directly into your practice management system. You can watch it on the screen as you're going. We have little feedback beeps to keep you on pace and really just trying to help hygienists out in what they say is the worst part of their day.
Yeah, it's one
Yeah.
of the worst for sure.
Yeah, I love to hear the validation that yes, that is the worst part of their day, but we're trying to help you out there. So it's
Can I ask a clarifying question about this? Because I feel like we have had voice charting options in the past, and there were,
Mhm.
I mean, look, they served the purpose at the beginning, but when I tried to implement them across multiple offices, every person is unique in how they deliver or how they do their perio charting. So how can I mean, does the hygienist have to acclimate to one way of doing it from here on out?
No, so that's really the power of the artificial intelligence, Andrew. It's allows the so when we set out to build the product, I think one of the things we quickly realized was we are going to have to fit in to the hygienist, the dentist, the provider's workflow.
Mhm.
We cannot have them fit into what we want them to do. And unless we do that, the product won't be successful because these people been in school forever, been doing it for 10, 15 years. We've got to match the way they do it. And so because of that, we built the product to be extremely flexible. You can chart gingival margin in many different ways. You can chart bleeding in many different ways. You can go in different orders. And that really allows it to be flexible. And we want it to fit like a glove into
Mhm.
what they're doing now. That's as close as possible. As close as possible we want to get.
How does dialect training, because I know that was a problem, like, people in the South had a hard time with some of
Yeah.
the previous versions because they had the Southern drawl. How does that play a part
Mhm.
here?
So accent, speed, pausing, all of that we handle from a general population point of view. So there's no going into it and training it on your voice, let's say, for 10
Okay.
minutes. You don't need to do that. It's simple plug and play. So we've covered most accents and most of what we've seen to date.
Nice. So walk me through, maybe this is a Tina thing. If we're working on the upper right hand and we have, gingival margins and bleeding, suppuration, furcation, like, how would the hygienist call this out?
So, like Rushi was saying, it was built from the clinical perspective back. So, you should be able to dictate that just like you were talking to an assistant. You can do all of the conditions on one tooth and then move to the next tooth. Or you can go condition by condition. That's how I did it for years and years. Like I do all
Same.
my pocket taps.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a big group of us out there that then I start my recession. Then as I'm going, I'm doing the bleeding. So it's really up to you. You don't have to follow any like format. You
Uh,
do your charting your way, and Bola will get it into the chart for you.
oh, that's fascinating. Because I remember there was this, we had a temp hygienist come in, right? And she was amazing, great patient care, but it drove our assistants crazy because, as we were one of the few offices that did have assistants, but as they were keying in 323, 323, 323, whatever, it would advance you to the next tooth once you finished with that last pocket depth.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
she would say, okay, well, tooth number two, it's 323 plus 2 millimeters recession plus bleeding here. And the system would have to constantly go back and click manually into all of those things. And it basically just slowed them down by a ton.
Yeah.
And so having
Mhm.
that flexibility for those types of hygienists, because she was also, again, a great hygienist, but she just worked and operated a little bit differently, I think is really key to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The flexibility is huge. And everybody kind of has their own way of doing it. Like that's how she was taught, that's how she's comfortable. You don't want a software to come in and say, "Oh no, you can't do it that way." No, do it that way. Do it the
Yeah.
way that you're comfortable and the way that you like to do it.
Exactly.
So the machine learning part of this, I mean, is this constant feedback going back then to you guys so you guys can continue to adapt everything?
Exactly, exactly. So both on the kind of speech side, the language side, how it's interacting with the practice management side, we take all of that feedback and constantly feed it into our models.
Mhm.
So over time, it's only going to get more and more accurate.
The microphone. Can we talk about that for a few minutes?
Sure thing.
Okay. Lots of different models of microphones that exist out there. What version of microphone do you all use?
So we're pretty flexible to microphone,
Okay.
but we do suggest three. Now, two of them are actually USB microphones. Plug right into your computer, they're wired, and they just attach to your lapel.
Okay.
And then one of the things we heard was, especially with hygienists, they have the loops, they have the masks.
Yeah.
During COVID, they had a face shield.
Yeah.
So as we don't want to add anything really onto the face. You've already got enough
It's already
things
heavy
going
enough on the front of our faces.
on. Exactly. Now to have a little microphone on it can drive you
Yeah,
nuts.
exactly.
So we'll offer basically a wired lapel microphone, clips right on your lapel, which is really nice. It stays out of your way. It captures your voice very nicely. And we also offer a Bluetooth lapel microphone. Again, hangs out here, but it's just Bluetooth connected to your computer.
Now, it's when we're shifting and changing with our awesome ergonomics that we have. Is that rustling noise ever going to interfere? Because that was a problem before, where we have multiple layers in front of the microphone and it can't hear us anymore.
So the rustling issue shouldn't be an issue. Same thing. I know during COVID, actually, we had to adjust our speech models a little because of the face shield, because people were wearing two masks, sometimes two masks and a face shield.
Yeah,
So we've accounted for all of that.
that's awesome. All right, so we have perio charting, one of the worst things that ever happened, other than sharpening instruments, is probably one of the worst parts of my day. What
Yeah.
what other functionalities can we use this for?
Sure thing. So perio charting is kind of the base core of our product offering. We also offer voice clinical notes.
Mm,
So we've heard whether it's a hygienist, a dentist, a front office staff, the clinical notes and the notes in general can be a huge burden. So we allow for that over voice, and that's relatively newer. That came out late last year.
So is it essentially you're clicking into whatever template you want to use, and then it's like voice to text kind of a situation?
Exactly. So that's a little more pure voice to text.
Nice.
And we are working on a few cool things there. Again, to what I spoke about earlier with fitting into the provider's workflow of around templates and filling those out. So there'll be some cool updates coming relatively soon there.
I can totally see somebody like doing their notes with voice and wiping down their room and setting up for the next day. Like my house.
That's a great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think about the multitasking aspect
Yeah.
of it, but that's huge because I mean, I'm always surprised when I go to clinical things, like how ingrained these workflows are with them.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, this is another one of these, right? They don't need their full attention to do it because they've done it a million times.
Right.
Well, and if you have the lapel mic that is wireless, assuming that it's a strong signal all the way through, yeah, you're going to do your first wipe. You're going to put all your stuff in. You're going to walk it out to your sterilization area. You're going to come back. Hopefully, you're still connected to it, and then you're going to start doing the second wipe and putting your barriers up and doing all that. Meanwhile, you're filling out all the notes. And then also one thing
Yeah.
that
That's great.
Tina, probably like on you've experienced this, you forget halfway through like cleaning something, like, oh, and this other thing that I wanted to add to the note that they had told me about in the first part of the appointment that I totally forgot about.
Yeah.
Hey, let me put in another quick little note at the bottom of it, and then I'll fill that part in later. Just like reminders or something like that. Like it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely key.
Yeah.
So what kind of feedback are you hearing from the dental teams who have used this? Like, it must be a time saver.
Mhm.
Huge time saver.
So
Yep.
yeah, huge time saver. I'd say, Tina, we typically hear if they were using a dental assistant before, we typically hear that the dental assistant doesn't need to help them out anymore within the first week. Like that's really the first indication of this is going well. Like, hey, my DA can now do XYZ. I don't have to go chase her down every single procedure
Right.
and we don't need her. So that's like really the first indication. After that, we definitely see time savings. As they do more and more charts, they get better and better, and it spreads throughout their organization as well. There's always one lead hygienist who really wants to use it, and then the others see it and see it working successfully for her, and it spreads quickly. So we're seeing that outward expansion of efficiency go pretty quickly in the office. I think it hits within the first few weeks, really.
Well, I think from the lead hygienist standpoint too, like it'd be if I have a consistency issue across the office, this would be like it would take away another barrier of trying to get that same consistency across all the hygienists across the whole entire. Like, because that's why we use templates, right? We use templates to ensure consistency and accuracy, but a lot of the hygienists still say they don't have enough time to do the notes properly.
Exactly.
And then, Tina, what else are you seeing as far as like calibration for the teams?
So it definitely helps calibrate the teams because you're going to have a little bit more time to get those in-depth perio charts done. And then when it breaks down the summary for the patient, it's done automatically for you. You don't have to calculate anything. Bola will calculate it for you. So it really helps, narrow those boundaries so that everybody is sort of diagnosing SRPs on the same data. Everybody's sort of diagnosing, cleaning in the presence of inflammation and bleeding on the same set of data. So it really helps tighten up that calibration between clinicians in an office or among multiple offices.
Can you go into what that was it a sheet you were saying, like a patient
The patient
a report?
education, yeah, it at the end of the perio chart, you can opt to have a summary of
Okay.
the exam. And in my years of experience, the problem is we're just printing the perio chart and maybe we explain a couple little spots to the patient and then we say like, okay, now we're going to bring you to the front desk. They're going to book you for scaling and root planing or whatever it is that's needed. But the part that was lacking there for me is I didn't really get the feeling that the patients were understanding what it is that I'm trying to tell them. So we broke it down in a few different ways because there's a few different health literacy levels among the patients. For some folks, for most folks, in fact, we do it like a blood pressure score. Here's how many pockets at 5 millimeters or more, and here's how many bleeding spots. So
Hmm.
if you have one pocket over 5 and 2 bleeding spots, I'm pretty much okay with you.
Hmm.
I'll see you in 6 months, or maybe I'll clean that out a little bit and I'll reevaluate in 6 months. If you've got, 15 pockets or 20 pockets and, 30 bleeding spots, that's a different situation. I
Yeah.
want to see you in a couple of weeks. I want to do some scaling and root planing and reevaluate you and follow you a little bit closer. But getting the point across to the patient was kind of the problem that we were trying to solve with that. So we did it in a few different ways. We did the blood pressure one. We did just the one number where if you're doing the cleaning in presence of inflammation and bleeding, you need that percentage of the mouth that's impacted. So we
Hmm.
thought that was a great place to put that for the clinician so they don't have to try to calculate it. And then we have a section that's for, our seasoned perio patients. They know which quadrants are their problems. They know which quadrants are full quads. They know which ones are localized. So we broke it out that way as well. And it just prints a little report for them and they can kind of track easier from visit to visit, how is this going? So that
Hmm.
was, really important to me. Patient education was obviously my cup of tea. So
Of
yeah, that
course.
was important to me to really get that understanding because then they kind of come into like, they're much more open to the education. They'll start asking questions. And that's when like, okay, they're ready to proceed with the treatment.
I think one of the things that one of the tasks that hygienists have been given a lot lately, we talk about the time frame is getting shorter, right, on all of our appointments, and then the responsibilities keeps going up and up and up. And one of those things is exactly what you're talking about. You have this patient summary, you have the X percentage of bleeding. Now we're talking to the patient about it, but then we submit that claim to insurance, and the insurance denies it. What a great
Mhm.
tool this summary would be, because an insurance coordinator or whoever at Cigna or wherever can look at this and say, "Oh my goodness, this is the data that I was looking for to see if they actually qualify for the treatment that was rendered or that they're, pre-approving or pre-authorizing." I think this is a golden tool because now the hygienist can say, you know, either they have to weirdly in some offices they have to email the insurances themselves now. Don't
Yeah.
even get me started on this, but or the insurance coordinator who maybe isn't a clinician now has the tools to let's copy and paste that and send it now for resubmitting for insurances. Like that's key. This is golden.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. And it does have a little thing for the front desk. It breaks it down like, it's full quad on 1, it's localized on these teeth on 3. So, I mean, you know how it is. It's
Mhm.
you bring the patient out and you say, okay, we're going to schedule them for a little scaling and replating full quad on the top and localized on the bottom. And then you go and you flip your room and start getting ready for your next patient. And then the front desk comes back and says, which quadrant was it? Which teeth, which teeth did you want to do? So it's all written down for them as well. So
Oh, that's so smart. Well,
yeah,
I would also I would assume that, each whether it's gonna be a DSO or each individual office could then also take that one step further and add adjuncts and products to certain procedure types that are listed out on that
mhm.
summary to make sure that that patient's getting, like, the full health treatment plan that they really need.
Yes, yep. You can edit that. You can, add things like, must have a power toothbrush, must use Floridex,
Yeah.
whatever is for that patient. But like take away the mundane, like clicking and trying to fabricate something yourself. And I mean, I've tried it a bunch of different ways. I've handed out pamphlets. I've drawn pictures on bracket tray liners.
Yeah.
I've tried a few different techniques and I like this one. I feel like it's really good.
No, I do too. I like that a lot. Tina, you were telling me before about was it a time study that you had performed?
We did do a time study, and we did do some studies with some big DSOs about, are their hygienists saving time? And they absolutely were saving time. We get them down to like about a 5 minute on average for a full perio chart by themselves. So, the DA can be doing other tasks, getting the next room ready for the doctor or putting the topical or whatever's required there without having to stop and go into the
Mhm.
hygiene room. And also, the hygienist, sometimes you say like, I'm going to need help writing for this one because it's a complicated case, but the DA isn't available. So you
Mhm.
have to kind of like start the cleaning and x-rays and then stop that and then do the perio charting and then pick up where you left off. And it's just not a good workflow. I don't think it works well for the patients or the clinicians. So it's better if you can just kind of have that autonomy to do that when it's right to do.
Mhm. No, for
Mhm.
sure, for sure.
So another study that we did took a large group of people and we studied their SRPs and localized versus full quad. And we thought like, okay, this is going to really have a lot of localized SRPs diagnosed as a result of just having that extra tool to get the full perio charting done.
Mhm.
And what we actually saw was there were still some localized, but a significant increase in full quadrants being treated because instead of just doing the spot check of the molars and just treating those teeth, these clinicians had time to actually do a full charting, anteriors, posteriors, uppers, lowers, and get it into their appointment. And then they discovered, you know what, there's actually a little more disease here than we thought. We were
Mhm.
only going to do, 1 through 3, but actually you'd benefit for 1 through 6 instead of 1 through 3. So we saw a lot more full quadrants. And I think that's great because, as you know, Andrew, like it's all related. The
Mhm.
disease in the mouth is not staying in the mouth. So I think if we treat it in a more comprehensive way, you're just going to have better patient outcomes. So
I
we were
I
really
just I
excited to
love
see
that.
that.
Well, I love it because that's the standard of care, right? A full perio charting is the standard. You should not ever be spot checking areas, whatever. And if your office is a high production, go, go, go kind of office, yeah, sometimes that would be the one thing that doesn't get done. But now you don't have an excuse, right? So now you can feel good about that you're doing the standard of care in your offices.
Yeah, you can do the standard of care and have that better patient outcome. They're going to have that healthy periodontal, status and, hopefully retain their teeth their whole life long.
One thing I like about what you guys are doing too is, you're definitely giving back to the hygiene community through educational opportunities, through, constant mentorship, leadership, things like that. What I know you guys have an event coming up. This is going to air probably in July, but you guys have an event coming up tomorrow. Rushi, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're hosting a free CE Zoom event tomorrow night, the 21st of June. And that's going to be all around AI efficiency in the clinic. And I know a lot of right, there's been so much news about AI, and especially AI in dentistry. So I think we're going to have a really good showing, and I think it's going to be really educational. I think people want to know just in general, what is this and what can it do for us and where does it fit in and is it for me? I think is a big question as well.
Is that going to be hosted on your website, or is there going to be a redirect to the CE Zoom website? How can someone go back and look and watch it?
Yes. So afterwards, yeah, go to our website, www.bola.ai. And if you go there, I'm sure we'll have a banner up to redirect you.
I love it. I love it. We're really good friends with the podcast. We're good friends with Sarah Thiel. So CE Zoom's a great platform. Everyone go get an account. Take this free course. It's gonna be awesome. I think one of the last things I want to talk about is, we have a ton of new grads, lots of students, a lot of educators make their students listen to the show, which I think is awesome. What kind of messages do you all have for them as they're kind of starting their journey in dentistry?
Sure. So one thing I will mention, and then Tina, I'll give it to you because I was never in that spot. I was never a new hygiene grad, but we are, Andrew, starting to work with schools a little closely, schools and universities to get this product out, to get it for the student body who can use it. I know those exams I heard can run like 20, 30 minutes. They're using another student to DA for them. So this just makes their life easier. So we'd love for any school or university to try it out, and for new grads, I think it's exciting because they're coming of age in an exciting time where AI is so prevalent. So I think this is definitely something they'd love to try.
For sure.
Yeah. I think for the new grads, First of all, big congrats, because I know how hard that is. I've taken that test. It's a very hard test. So yeah, congrats to all of them. We can't wait for you to come into the workforce. We're desperately needing you. And I so wish that this had been available to me when I was a new grad, because you're going to have to find your way a little bit, and it can be a little bit hard, but you will find your way. And if you can find these kinds of things that really work well for you and embrace them and work them into your workflow, it'll just work so much better for you. It'll be less, less chaos, less stress. You'll feel more comfortable, doing what you've been trained to do.
I don't think you guys probably have any studies on this, but your opinion, I guess, is pretty relevant here. You have a new grad who is embracing technology, who is, loving all this, versus a new grad who's pushing back. Like, who's going to get hired more, right? Who's going to be embraced in that office more? Like that alone kind of just, sets them up for a future of success. And like, I don't know, I told you, it's in your opinion, but I'm not going to give you a chance to give your opinion. But I'm just saying, like, I look at these new grads, having hired a ton of them my own self. And if you guys are on board for, innovation, technology, being open to it, loving it, embracing it, you're going to have such a much brighter career compared to your counterparts.
Absolutely. So, absolutely.
All right. If anyone wanted to reach out to you personally, Tina, Rushi, how can they find you?
Best way is probably the website. We have a form fill there, but if you have questions, comments, just want to talk about the future of dentistry, there's a nice form there they can just fill out and we can respond to.
Awesome. I love it. Everyone, don't forget the website is in the show notes. All you have to do is click on the title of the episode, and usually the show notes will pop up, and you click on the website and go right on over to it. Thank you both for joining me today. I appreciate it so much. It's been a blast, and we'll see you guys again.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.